Welcome back to the channel, welcome to a new video. Today's going to be a slightly different one. I had a company called Dehancer reach out to me at the start of the year, asking if I'd be interested in reviewing their product. Essentially it's a film emulation plugin for the likes of Davinci Resolve, Final Cut Pro and Premiere Pro. I know that they offer an iOS version as well, so you can get it on your iPhone and your iPad. And it just helps you get the film look on your video footage. So today I'm going to be walking you through my color grading workflow, and we're just going to go through the different options that Dehancer offers you in terms of film grain, halations, bloom, all the different film emulations that they offer. And I'll touch briefly on how I expose my video footage, contrast, saturation, white balance, those type of things. So let's jump onto the desktop where I can start showing you my process. So as you can see, we've now jumped into Davinci Resolve, where I've got my media pool here on the left. I've grabbed a couple of clips from around the neighborhood. I've got one here that's very well exposed, and then I've got one here that you can see with the shadows, and this might be a little bit trickier to color grade. This is not a direct copy and paste from this clip. So I'll show you how to color grade both of these. So now we've jumped into the color tab where I have both my clips in here. And as you can see, we have the node tree on the right here. So what I'm gonna do is press Alt and S and create myself 6 nodes in total. But essentially the first node here, that's gonna be our CST, or our color space transformation. So what we wanna do is click on this node, come over to the effects and drag the color space transform onto this. And now this clip that you see is filmed with a DJI Action 4, which is filmed in D-Log, but it's not a true log. So for my input color space and input gamma and output color space, I'll just use Rec. 709, as this is the most widely used color space. And then for the output gamma, I'll go with Cineon Film Log. Don't ask me why. I think I've seen it from other videos, and I seem to get quite good results from using this as an output gamma, so that's the reason I use that. And Cineon Film Log works well with Rec. 709, so that's the reason I'm using that. There's no science, at least from my side, behind it. And so we'll just rename this one CST, so we know that that's our color space transformation. And then on our last node, this is where Dehancer comes in. And so here we have our film emulation, Dehancer Pro at the bottom here. I've not included the installation of Dehancer into Davinci in this video, because Dehancer do have an installation guide on their website, and it's a fairly simple process, so I'm sure you guys can figure that out for yourselves. So now that we've dragged the Dehancer emulation onto our node, this is essentially what the plugin will look like. And as you can see here, we've got our input. These are all the film stocks that you can choose from. There is a ton, so you can have a lot of fun. And then here's the fun part. You have the film grain, the halations, the blooms, the film damage, the film breath. And if I'm totally honest with you, I've played around with it for a month or so. Again, as I mentioned earlier on, I'm not a professional. I'm still yet to learn about what the other options do. So let's start with the input. Here, I'll always match it to what I put my color space transform as. You can choose your camera, and I know it has the DJI Osmo Action 4 here, but as I mentioned, it's not a true log, and I seem to get better results when I select the Cineon Film Log, so I stick with that for now. So now that we've matched the source back to the color space transform, here we can then start having some fun. So as mentioned, these are all of the film stocks that you can choose from. I personally was shooting with Kodak Gold 200 back in 2019 or 2020. So there's a hint of nostalgia there for me, so I tend to go with this one. Again, I've not messed around too much with the film developer, so I won't be touching on that today. Here you can choose your film print. Again, I've not touched too much on that. I know we have the Fujifilm print here, the Kodak print. I tend to leave that alone. What I'm most interested in here is the film grain. Of course, we all love a bit of grain, that's why we're probably watching this video. Halation, so you can enable I tend to drop it down a little bit, I don't want too much. Same with the bloom, I'll enable that. Film damage and film breath I keep switched off. So yeah, once all that's done, then we can come back over to our other nodes. And so for these other nodes in the middle, here we'll have exposure, contrast, white balance and saturation. Again, I've seen these on other people's videos, so that's why I kind of stick with this. And it's a workflow that seems to be working for me at the moment. So we'll start over this side with the exposure node. You can come across to the gain wheel and slide up and down to under or overexpose. As I have a photography background, I find it easier using the curves. So here, I think this is a little bit too exposed for me. I quite like having I like it being slightly darker, so I will just drop this down slightly. And again, this is a very simple workflow. This is not scientific at all. There's probably things that I'm doing wrong, but I found a way that kind of works for me at the moment, so I just kind of stick with it. And as I learn more and as I go on, then I'll change some things up. But then I'll come over to the contrast tab. And again, going back to the photography in me, you can sort of create a little S-curve here. So we still want the sky nice and blue. White balance, we can come over to this wheel on the left-hand side here. And again, we can just keep this super simple and just slide up and down. Again, obviously going into the minus is going to give a cooler look, and going into the plus is going to give a warmer look. And with this being Kodak Gold 200, I tend to opt for the warmer look. So I'll just bump that up to 150. And so let's come over to the saturation node. And I've seen a couple of other videos do this where they change the color space to HSL. So if we right click onto saturation after we've chosen the HSL color space, we can come into the channels. And so channel 1 will be our hue, channel 2 will be our saturation, and channel 3 will be our luminance. And all we want to mess around with today is the saturation. So we're going to deselect channel 1 and we're going to deselect channel 3. And so if you go right into the top corner, you can see super saturated. Again, right down into the bottom corner, it's going to turn it to black and white and take all the saturation out. So what we want to do is just kind of find a middle ground. Obviously we want the blue to be looking good, and we also want the grass to be looking nice and green, but we don't want to overdo it. We don't want it super vibrant. So that's just a super simple way of color grading your footage with the Dehancer plugin. We have another clip here on the right hand side, and so what you can do is you can select this clip, right click here, and you can apply the grade. And so you're not having to do these 6 steps every time. You can just copy and paste over, and then you can make changes to however you need. So for example, with the saturation node here, so I've just made changes to the white balance, saturation, contrast and exposure there, just to get the footage to how I'm liking it. And so the last thing to do is come back into the look node, go onto effects, and here is where you can mess around with your film grain. So again, you can up that if you want maximum grain. I tend to normally go around sort of 25 to 30 within that range. With the DJI Action 4, I am using ND filters, which for some reason creates a little bit of noise in the footage as well. So it does actually give a sense of its own, I know it's not film grain, but it does give a sense of its own film grain. So I don't like to go too high on this. that was my color grading workflow. I hope you found some value from this video. Again, I'm not a professional colorist, so if there's some steps that I've done wrong or some things where I've gone wrong, please feel free to comment down below. In terms of Dehancer, to give my honest opinion or feedback, I think the plugin's brilliant. For someone like me, again, who's not a professional and wants good looking footage super quick, I think it's a brilliant tool to have in my arsenal. I think the only drawback, because again, not every product out there is 100% perfect, but I think with Dehancer, the only drawback that I could see could potentially be the price. It is an expensive investment for people who are not making money from videos, such as myself or other small YouTubers or amateur video makers. I think it is a hefty price to pay, but if you're interested in old film stocks and you're interested in replicating those in your videos, then I think you can have some fun with it. And if you're making a lot of videos throughout the year, I think it is a worthy investment. If you are interested in picking up a license, there is a 10% discount code in the description below, so feel free to use that. But yeah, if you found some value from this video, then please give it a like, comment, subscribe, you know what to do. And I'll see you in the next video.